Hey, what is up, everybody? Paul James here, and thanks for tuning in to another episode. So, you guys have been responding awesome to these types of interviews. So, I decided that I would do another one today, and I'm bringing back someone that we've had on earlier. His name is Shea. John and I are partners on a lot of different things, and the reason why is because John actually runs a local marketing agency of his own. And I came across John and I just saw the things that he was doing and that he's actually running an agency and he's actually working with clients. And that's why I've been partnering with him on a lot of things, because I just feel like he can bring a lot of value to you guys. So we're bringing John back in and we're going to talk about a new method that he's using to land clients. So if you're struggling to land high paying clients, then you're in the right place at the right time. And John does things quite a bit differently, as you're going to find out. He's not about being salesy or hypey. He's more about providing a lot of value and getting clients that way, which is why I think this method is so unique. So, John, thanks again for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, for those of you who don't know John, I just if you could just give a quick introduction again. I know we did this last time, but there's probably some new folks watching who don't know who you are. Maybe just give a quick bio, where you're from, how you got started, and what you're doing now, what you're up to.
Yeah, I've been doing internet marketing for about 6 years. Kind of give like a really short version of the story. I originally got started in MLM marketing, which is multi-level marketing, and eventually kind of got out of that. And I started my own podcast, and I started interviewing a lot of people and learning about what they were doing. And eventually ended up interviewing someone that was doing a lot of stuff in the SEO world. I was still kind of chasing around a lot of shiny objects, which is always a challenge in the internet marketing space. And ended up basically kind of getting hooked on this whole thing where you could find a business owner that was looking for help and, do something like a basic website or help them, increase their Google rankings. And you can get paid really well for doing that kind of work. And it was fairly easy once you got the hang of it. But there was a lot of like learning and things I had to go through. I actually ended up working for a marketing agency for about 8-9 months. So I was able to learn a lot from them, and that was an opportunity I took up because I wanted to see what it was like in a real company. And now I'm just working with a small number of clients on my own, and obviously, working with you on this stuff and doing product launches. And I also do a lot of online courses. That's something I'm really passionate about. So that's kind of a brief rundown of it.
Awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of the people who have been coming in and learning about you, I think that they really appreciate, that you're a good teacher. And I think it's 30,000 students now that you've worked with, right?
Yeah, I mean, collectively, I teach on a couple of platforms like Udemy and Skillshare are the biggest, but I also teach on a couple other platforms like amazing.com, and there's a few others out there that aren't as big, but I think collectively now, I think it's crossed over 40,000 if you combine Skillshare and Udemy, and I'm releasing new courses all the time. So there's a lot of people that have checked out my stuff over the last few years since I've been doing this.
That's awesome. So tell me about the pay it forward method. Like, what made you think about this and think about I should really be giving some value first before I try to convince a business owner to work with me? Like, how did this come in your mind?
I think the biggest thing that I found was that, and if you talk to any business owner, maybe you have a friend or a family member, maybe they run a business themselves, is if you talk to them, everybody always says the same thing. And they'll say that they get phone calls from people all day long that are basically telling them they can get ranked on Google, and they hear it nonstop in and out, and there's no real like specific distinction between what any of these guys are doing. They're just kind of trying to be really salesy. They're trying to get into people, dig into these businesses, and they're not really doing anything spectacular to show them like how they can help them or offering any sort of upfront value. It's almost kind of like, the best way I could compare it to is like, it's like walking into a bar and just walking up to a girl and saying, hey, do you want to go on a date with me? And like, you don't even tell them your name.
Mm-hmm.
Basically asking for the sale right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was kind of, I realized, and in some ways I realized, the same thing. I spent a lot of years dating. It's like, you can't just jump into things right away, and you got to take some time to build a relationship first and get people to trust you. And then obviously that's where things are going to bloom from there. So it's the same with sales, in my opinion. And I came up with this idea. I'd been doing some of this video course stuff already, obviously. And I said, why don't I start recording these little videos and just kind of sharing some very, very basic tips and making it simple for someone to understand. And, there's some things I had to tweak over time, but I kind of shared my like full inside the pay it forward method. I kind of share like the full breakthrough of everything that I was doing. Like one of the mistakes, for example, was I used to send out these emails with the video and I would have no idea if they even opened the email or even looked at it. So inside the course, I show some tools that you can use to track that stuff, and you can do it for free.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Do you think that there was a defining moment or like a moment of like desperation that led you to, try this method? Or was it just that you just kind of saw a gap in the marketplace?
I think it was more like a gap at the time. I know when I was doing it, I was still working a full-time job. So it wasn't like any sort of sense of urgency that I needed money and, oh my God, I was going to, be unemployed and, things weren't working. I
Mhm.
know I did have some back and forth struggles with it. There was a period before I joined that marketing agency where I was trying to do some of it and, things were at a down point. I had lost some clients and, everyone has failures. And I just wasn't as motivated to do it at the time. And I ended up taking that job. And maybe if I had stuck with it at the time, I knew that it had worked in some ways, but most of the time I was still learning. Like I wasn't charging enough for my services that I probably should have been. Wasn't really upselling people. I would just do like one-time websites and then leave it at that. So there's a lot of opportunity, doing this. And I was able to get, I think just doing this one method alone, you could probably say I guess you could probably say in the realm of like $10,000, given it was websites and, doing SEO combined.
That's awesome. And are you saying that you were holding a job while you were doing this?
Yeah. So I was like, I was basically working a full-time job and I would come home at night. And the biggest thing with something like this is it's going to come down to the consistency. So, you can't just expect to go make 5 of these and land a client. You might have to do like 50 of them before you really land a client. And that could be quite a bit, but it's really going to come down to just finding the right person to be interested in this and see the value in it. And I've had a lot of people, they would actually watch them. And I remember I had an insurance guy watch it and he just didn't have a lot of money to spend on doing SEO or anything like that. So I ended up, he loved what I did for him and he thought it was helpful. He just didn't have the money to invest in it. So those were the kinds of people I would say, they might be able to come back later and maybe I could sell them something else or at a later time, follow up with them and sell them services later.
Awesome. When you talk about like some people aren't like, it kind of sounds like you're saying some people aren't really a great fit for this method, like looking for people like as potential prospects for your business. What exactly are you looking for in a prospect? Is there certain things that you're, looking at on their website or in their rankings, or like what exactly are you looking for?
I usually keep it pretty simple. I'll try to, most of the time I'm trying to sell local SEO, meaning I'm trying to go after people that aren't ranking in the top 3 in the maps. So it's going to be local businesses only. It's not going to be like a company that's necessarily global. You could, of course, do that if you chose to with this method, but it's not required. I like local because of some of the ways I teach. Basically, I'll show them a series of different things, and I'll usually look for the fact that they're just not ranking in the city that they're residing in, which is the biggest thing. If I type in plumber in local town and they're not showing up, maybe they're like number 8 or something in that list, then nobody's going to be finding them. And that's really where they're going to be losing business and losing leads and phone calls that they'd otherwise be getting.
So you find someone who's not getting the results because they're not showing up in Google in the correct spot that they should be. Walk me through what happens next after that. Like what kind of goes through your mind? What do you put together and before you actually shoot a video?
I'll usually, I pull open like tabs for all the different things I'm going to be sharing. So I talk about it in the course, but like one of the tools, for example, is Moz Local, and it's a free tool. You can basically put in the business name, throw in like their zip code for that city, and then you can get some information about their business listings, otherwise known as citations in the SEO world. And you'll be able to find some, basically some areas that kind of have gaps, like things that are incorrect or inconsistent. And I'll basically pull up that, a combination of a few other things like mobile site speed testing. I'll pull up their website and I can just kind of visually look at it. But a lot of times I'll look for things like maybe the website's not mobile friendly. So that's a perfect candidate for someone to sell a website to. Then I'll pretty much just go through it. I'll have all these different things up on the screen and I'll just have a recording tool, which I talk about, a free one you can use inside the course. And you basically just make a 5 to maybe 7-minute video. Try to keep it around that length. If you're doing the exact same thing for each of the videos, you can keep it pretty much within that same ballpark. And I'll try to share both good and bad things. So if I saw something that's good, I'll even mention that too, because people like that transparency. So if someone actually had a really nice looking website, but maybe their SEO is terrible, like maybe the website's mobile friendly, I'll actually say your website looks awesome. It's easy for me to find your contact information. I was able to clearly see what you do as a business. So like I'll actually point those things out, and that I think gives them some reassurance that I'm being really honest, and they're going to see that, and that I'm not just trying to sell them something. I'm actually giving them the truth. And that's what really builds people's trust, to feel more confident in working with you. And that's kind of the basics around it. So looking for those little things that you can use to, kind of not necessarily pick them apart. You don't want to make them seem like terrible, like things are just awful.
So you kind of balance it out.
Yeah, like balance, like the good and the bad, and kind of show them what's going on.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's a great idea, because I feel like if you just attack them and said, your site sucks, this is awful, then they kind of feel picked on and won't want to work with you. So if you balance it out and give them some compliments and tell them what they're doing right, I think that's definitely a good angle.
Yep.
Awesome. So the kind of feedback that you usually get from business owners, does it usually take some follow-up to get feedback back? Or is it normally you send the video and they're like, John, you're amazing?
Yeah, so I've had a combination of different things happen with some of the clients I've gotten. I know I talk about it inside the course, and some of it's sort of in the case studies on the sales page itself. But for example, I'll just use I'll use like one of the roofers I did a website for. I actually sent it to him, and I remember specifically he was in the hospital, I think, with whoever, it might have been his father or something, and he told me this over text message, and he said, yeah, I'm in the hospital right now, but I actually just watched your video on my phone. And he's like, I really appreciate you sending that over to me. And he's like, I definitely want to talk with you. He's like, I'll give you a call. He said, I'll give you a call tomorrow. So he actually called me up and we spoke, and I pretty much had him sold. I think it was like a $400 or $500 website I sold him.
Nice.
And he's still a client today. And I can basically sell them on other services too. Like, he wasn't someone I was able to turn into an SEO client, but I was able to get him on like hosting and regular maintenance, things like that. I can charge him for once a year, something like that. Very basic, kind of keep him there as a client. And I've had a lot of situations like that, but in most cases, I do find that you do have to follow up with some sort of either an email or a phone call. I know the phone does scare people, but it's so much easier going into a phone call and saying, hey, did you get my email that I sent over to you? And then they're kind of like thinking, hey, did I get that email? They're thinking about it, and you're not just kind of coming into the conversation like a total stranger just trying to sell them something. You're coming in, hey, I sent you some value. And a lot of times I've had situations where people will say, yeah, I saw the email, but I didn't get a chance to watch it. And I actually share a case study of it in the course, but it was an insurance company that was exactly what happened. I called him up like a week later because I knew I'd sent it to him. And I called him up and was just like, hey, did you get the video I sent you? I sent you a video in an email. And he says, yeah, I got it. Let me go watch it now. And then why don't you call me back in 30 minutes? And I said, well, I'll send you the video again just to make sure you have it. And just reply to my email or let me know when you want to talk on the phone. Within 30 minutes, he watched it and he immediately said, all right, how do we fix these problems?
Nice.
And I was able to get back on the phone with him within like 40 minutes. And we basically closed the deal down, and I was able to, get it moving. So I closed him down. I think it was $750, that client.
Wow. That's really awesome, man. That's great. So one thing that I'll say is that because you're talking about tracking, for people who are afraid to call, they can wait technically until the business owner actually opens the email, knowing that they opened it. Now it's a warm lead because the business owner already knows who they are. So they don't really, it's not really like a cold call at that point. At least I don't think so.
Yeah, I would agree. And I mean, that was actually when I initially did this, I wasn't using any sort of tracking tools, but there's some tools out there now. There's a few, both free and paid. And I showed the free one. I think it just has a limit on the number of emails you'll see. I think it's like 100. So it's still quite a bit. You tie it into your Gmail and you're able to basically get like a little pop-up, or you can go just view history to see if people have opened those emails and you combine that with this method, it'll work really well. I remember calling up some businesses and like, they were like, I didn't get any email, and they're just completely confused. They don't have anything in their inbox. So it's like, it kind of becomes a little awkward at that point. And, you know, you still might want to follow up with those people, but at least you might have a little more confidence going into it. And another thing on this whole point I did want to mention was, I've had people both ask me in email and just kind of in general, like, could I outsource this? Could somebody else make the video?
Oh yeah.
I would say the best thing you'd probably want to do is, if you did have someone else doing it with you, maybe look at them as if they're a partner or an employee. So what I used to do is I actually took a friend, like kind of one-on-one, and I trained him on the system. And he was really into all the stuff I was doing. And he actually started doing these audit videos with me. I gave him access to my YouTube channel where we were uploading them. And he was able to use the same software I was using. And I trained him exactly how to do it. It was super easy. And he started recording the videos, and he would send the emails. And then I would follow up and say, hey, my colleague Kevin sent you guys an email the other day. We just wanted to know if you had a chance to take a look at the video that Kevin sent over. So I was kind of like following up from the work that he did.
Mm-hmm.
I would say in a lot of ways, it probably will help if you're the one actually in the video, because then they're going to kind of connect with you a little bit more, and they're feeling confident that you're the guy that's actually going to help them. So that is, you know, there's obviously a benefit there. But I had some clients, I remember I had some people, they didn't end up closing, but I had some people really, really close that were like really interested, and I just never got them to finally close the deal, that were from videos that my partner Kevin at the time had done. So this is something that you could, you know, technically have people help you with, but I don't know that you'd want someone in, like, you know, a foreign country that doesn't speak good English doing it.
Yeah, I could see potentially maybe even finding someone on Craigslist, or maybe like a college intern or something like that, where this.
For sure.
Awesome.
So,
let's talk about fulfillment. I think that's the next thing. What about people out there who don't really want to do any of the fulfillment work? Are you outsourcing a lot of stuff?
yeah, so I'm pretty much outsourcing everything as much as possible. I know in the course I don't cover it too much in depth, but there are some good companies out there that if you look around, you know, white label SEO. I'll mention one of them I can just throw out there, and if you do decide to give them a ring, you know, for anybody listening, there's a company, 51blocks.com, based out of Colorado, fairly affordable, and I've given them work and seen good results.
Awesome.
And I know the owner of the company's name is Michael. So if you guys were interested, that's a really good outsource company. You know, you decide to pick up the pay it forward method, and you go through this course, and then you're like, what do I do if I get a client? That would be a good one to start with. And they're a legitimate company. The employees all work in-house. It's not like all people doing stuff in Philippines or something. So that would be a really good one to go after.
There you go, guys. John just paid it forward to you. So
yep, exactly.
So you guys got a nice little way to outsource it now. And now you just need the client. So we've got pay it forward on a very special deal right now. We're actually closing this offer down though on Monday at midnight. So you'll want to pick it up. We're rewarding early action by picking it up earlier. We're keeping the price lower, and then every day the price raises. So from now until Monday, the price will raise every day. So you want to make sure that you get in on it. I'll leave a link below the video. And John, anything you want to wrap up with?
I guess the biggest thing I would say is for anybody who goes through the course, you know, this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. You know, you have to be consistent with it, but I've given you a lot of the tools and the techniques. Me and Paul also threw in an extra offer there for some done for you templates. So I kind of put the work together for you, and you could go out there and actually slap your own branding on it. You could have no branding if you chose to, and you have a really nice template that you could create these audits around. So this is a really great method that it does work really well. And you know, you go out there, you can close any basic deal, go get website deals or SEO deals, reputation management, social media management, anything like that. Maybe you want to sell video services. Any of those methods could apply to doing this. So I would say just go out there and take consistent action. Maybe decide to do like 3 to 5 videos a day, something like that, or maybe more, and just keep doing that over a period of time. And I guarantee you'll get results from it.
Awesome. Yeah, I really like too that you included so many case studies inside. I think people are going to really appreciate that because it's not theory. This is something that you've actually done and you still continue to do. And I think that people are going to really enjoy that about the course. So I just want to thank you again for coming on today. I appreciate it. And thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
We'll catch you guys later, and we'll leave a link below if you want to pick it up.